The fight to survive has begun. Denji does not take this battle well. I didn't think he would. I mean, we already know that he wasn't fully recovered, from all the damage he took. Aki told him he hasn't taken enough blood. Regardless of which, I didn't see a possibility that he was going to take this victory over Reze. She just seems so much more skilled. It's not just that she's generally seems, very powerful. Like, just her explosions. Just the fact that she's got, like, a much bigger handle on her powers in general. And that actually ended up being, one of the things she brings up. And I think that was pretty obvious. Denji's awesome. I really like Denji as a character. But there is the fact that he doesn't really have, the fact of any real skill with his abilities yet. I mean, obviously this series is still early. We're rounding up close to, a year mark into Chainsaw Man. But Denji needs to gain a grasp on his powers, because he can't, like, as even says, you can't just flail around, his weapons, like his chainsaws, just, aimlessly. It'll work on mindless, kind of like very unintelligent devils, but we know, the stronger the devil, the more intelligent they are. And somebody like her, where she knows what she's doing with her power, she's just fighting, a big bumbling dangerous guy. It's just dodge, you do some tricks on him. Like, the first thing that happens when they start fighting is, she blows up the truck they're on, then she just goes flying. Here she comes in, blows up the lower area of the building that he lands, and she just completely just pummels on him. And Denji's, like, gained, like, a block. I mean, obviously, like, if he took an explosion just in front of him, like, in reality, it's gonna do a lot of damage. And that happens to him in the fights and stuff. But now he's got, like, that chainsaw block. He puts his blades over each other, blocks the damage. Probably has something to do, with the chains revving up. But regardless, he's able to get that, because we know, he worked on some defensive capabilities and, like, actually somewhat fighting when he trained with Kishibe to go back against the Katana Devil. This is not the Katana Devil, because, like, with the Katana Devil I mentioned before, he and Denji seemed pretty close in level, aside from that whole, like, speed, like, super speed stance move that he had, that little down crouch. Outside of that, him and Denji didn't seem too far off, whereas Reze just seems in a different league in literally, like, everything, all stats, but very, very importantly in her powers, because, like, Denji blocked the explosion when she went in to go do this attack. He puts up the triple chainsaws, blocks, but she's like, you need to be smart with your powers. You need to actually, like, understand what your abilities are and what you're gonna do with them. And Denji's not really too sure on that, and then a moment later she lifts up her hand, shows that she's missing a finger. That finger is now on his chainsaw with a fuse on it, blows up, and you just see, like, Denji just mutilated. He's got all burns all over and just coming out of some smoke, trying again. And I do really like Denji. I love that rawness that he has, but he definitely needs to hone his skills into, like, some form of advancement. And obviously it's not going to be like, I learned some like calm mind martial arts where he's just like a chainsaw swordsman. I think it'll be more like swings his arm and, like, the chain comes off and he's got pretty much like a chainsaw whip. Not really like a straight whip, but just, the chain with all the teeth on it kind of flailing off the blade and then coming back. Something like that, where it's like, oh, cool, you got range now. And then he'd be able to have something like, it cling into a wall and then pull towards it, do some Spider-Man shit, just to add that extra bonus onto his, his capabilities. Because that's really what you see with, like, Reze. And she obviously has, like, being able to throw her head as a bomb and explode, and then have her previous body, like, pretty much be like a walking eventual bomb. And then, like, we saw, just finger off while she's goes in for attack. You think you're good, and then just another explosion. She just completely blasts in there. And again, Denji, he comes in, he jumps right up to her, and she just explodes right beneath him and sends him just soaring into the air. he's just getting his ass completely demolished. There's nothing really like possible for him in order to take this victory. Denji can't pull this victory through. And I know how the chapter ends, but I don't think anybody in that group still is going to be able to fight her. Again, the only people I see that we know of so far that I think would be able to contend with her is Kishibe, which we know that he's the guy who taught Makima. He's obviously like a really big deal, really like one of the most powerful devil hunters. I had to go back and look if they said he was the strongest. I mean, regardless of remembering that statement or not, I'm pretty sure he said he was the top devil hunter. Regardless, though, him training Makima should be, he is very strong. Makima, we know, is very powerful. I think that much is obvious. Like the whole group with the Sawatiri and oh my god, I'm trying to remember if I remember her name as well. But her and the Katana Devil, they knew that Makima was a threat. Like once stuff started to go down, like, oh shit, it's her. They needed to figure out a plan. She, I think, could definitely contend with Reze. I think she's probably one of the only ones that can. And maybe she's gonna have to. Like, I don't really see otherwise how they could defeat her. And even at the end of the chapter, I don't think it'll really matter. Like, she just rockets Denji in the air, explodes like under herself, so she can just land up there, and then just comes down, turning her leg into a freaking missile, and then just pushing Denji right back down, just exploding him back down to the surface. And he's just like got intestines everywhere. He's just brutally just thrashed and lacerated. Just like parts of his body are just exploded. Look at he's just got intestines everywhere. He's not doing too well. And he regenerates. We know he can regenerate. We know that the hybrids are pretty much immortal. Seemingly their heart is their only weakness. And she's just like, yeah, you regenerated. I noticed. So you probably revved up your engine before she landed the kick. Just gave that extra boost to Denji, because we know like his little perk, at least that we know of, as long as he pulls that chest cord, he's gonna get like a huge energy and stat boost, and able to keep fighting. But that doesn't really matter. That doesn't matter, Reze. He jumps, tries to keep going, and she just nabs him and just bursts him and explodes him. The dude's looking like a used firework. His body is charred. It looks like, he's just got smoke emanating all his body. At one point, it looks like there's like a charred remains in his mouth. Like just like a warm glow of just heat and just burnt marks. I feel bad for him. Like, she just walked through him like it wasn't even really a fight, to be perfectly honest. And she looks unfazed. It wasn't like, oh man, okay, I beat him. Whew, all right, let's go. It looked like she was playing with him. Like she just wanted to toy with him. And, like a big cat versus a little cat. It's like, cool, you can catch a toy mouse, but let's see what you do against an actual trained, like, killer. And she really just treated him like that. She played with him for a bit, beat him down. But Aki smart. We know Aki is a tactical person to a degree. He's got his sword set up. Here he comes in, and with his power of future sight, he knows where she was gonna go. Just lays there, pretends to be a dead body, and the second she steps over him, he just grabs his blade, gets up, and cuts her hand off. And so here's the thing. Him cutting her hand off, I don't think is really gonna matter unless like he's got some aspect to his katana that it's like gonna prevent her from like, oh, you can't use this part of your body that you cut off because of the Angel Devil adding some buff, because we know the Angel Devil can add, he can pretty much make weapons special. Like that's why Aki's sword can cut ghosts and stuff. He can hit ethereal and non-tangible things, because otherwise it's like she can just make that severed hand into a bomb and explode both right there, both Aki and Denji. I don't think that he's gonna really have much of a fight here. I think maybe like he cut her hand, she drops him, maybe Beam shows up, grabs Denji and runs away again, and they just stall. Maybe Violence comes back to Angel Devil. They just stall until Makima shows up, because again, I don't really see like what Aki could do in this situation, because it's like, okay, Aki's got future sight abilities, but we already know, like, just because he can see the future, he knows what's gonna happen. It doesn't mean he's gonna be able to withstand it. Like if Reze just decides to use that sick missile leg again, all it's gonna do is like it blasts the entire area. Even if Aki doesn't get hit by the initial explosion, like the shrapnel from the area that she hits is probably just gonna lacerate him, like, and completely tear his body apart. And he doesn't have regenerative properties, and Power's on around. Maybe Power, like, boosted could show up and do something. I don't know. I don't even think Power boosted really is gonna do a whole lot. We don't know if Power's, like, secretly, like, a big deal and she's just kind of weakened by getting drained, but as it is, there's not a whole lot they're really pulling through here. I mean, again, even though it's like, oh yeah, the counterattack is beginning, here's Aki here, what is Aki gonna pull out to really contend? Because they can't kill her. She's, you know, one of those devil-human hybrids with a devil's heart and a human body. So, what is he gonna do? And it's like, if it was Denji, like, if it was, like, switched around, or even the Katana double, it's like, okay, cool, you cut off their arm. Even if they don't like, they could regenerate, but also, you know, you've now disarmed them. But we've already seen with Reze, any part of her body that comes off to any extent can be an explosive. And if one finger is enough to really, you know, damage Denji, what is an entire hand and wrist gonna do? It's gonna blow away Aki. So, good chapter, you know, a really nice showcase on just what Denji needs to improve on. We got somewhat already with the Katana double, but the Katana, the difference between the Katana and, you know, Reze's the Bomb Devil is you go back and look at those chapters. Outside of that stance, he didn't really have anything, you know, different from Denji, you know, being, you know, just a big bladed, you know, arm swinger. He could fight, but it's not like he was a master of his power. Whereas, look at Reze, she's just pulling, like, crazy moves with knowledge of how her devil abilities work. So this is going to be a nice wake-up call to Denji. I like seeing the absolute just beating Denji took, because, like, with the Katana, it's like Denji got bisected and then, you know, he got taken away. Like, here he keeps, like, getting beat up. Like, we see him just, like, you know, being smart, using his skills, like managing to block the attacks, revving up the engine on his chest in order to, you know, heal up right after he takes all that damage. He's obviously more skilled, and, you know, from the beginning of the series in comparison, but there's still a long way to go. You know, when you go put him up against someone like Reze, and she's part, you know, allied under the Gun Devil, and we don't even know if the Gun Devil, like, where he ranks in the overall devils of the Chainsaw Man world. And I don't think at any point they ever said that the Gun Devil was the biggest. They just, you know, we just know that he's amongst the most infamous. You know, there could be others like him, you know, dangerous, extremely powerful ones. I mean, I think it's really easy. You know, you pick some big hot topic like that, like, oh, guns. Yeah, people are afraid of guns. You know, you just pick something else. We already got bombs. You could probably pick, like, a plague or something. You know, maybe some form of sickness. I'm still surprised that the Spider Devil isn't, like, much stronger. I still think arachnophobia, last time I checked, is, like, the most common fear in the world. Either way, comment below, tell me what you thought about the chapter. Like, I really liked seeing what Reze was capable of, but I am really looking forward to see, like, where Denji evolves from this. Because Denji is still, like a vastly growing character. You know, just look at, like, aspects of, like, him versus the beginning to now. I mean, he's not like, oh, he's a whole different person, but you could really see a lot of growth parts. I mean, like, again, look at this chapter. Look, you can just see not even, like, character traits, just going at something like the way he fights. He's gained some skill, but really, like, with the Katana, he got pushed. He got pushed some, but with Reze, he just got an absolute beating like he's never experienced before. But other than that, like I said, comment below. Check out the, some other videos. I really appreciate it. Color page next chapter. We just got a sick color page from Chainsaw Man not too long ago, a couple chapters ago, and we're getting another one, which is exciting. So, other than that, thumbs up the video from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. With that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.